Happy Thursday. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. So many content options out there, so anytime you decide to come and hang out with us, we are always thankful for that, discussing the latest Niners news, rumors, analysis, buzz, going into NFL free agency as the live tampering period does begin on Monday, and how we operate on the business strategy here at Chat Sports. It's the start of NFL free agency on Monday. Don't get it twisted. And speaking of that, we'll be live on Monday morning. You don't want to miss our coverage. And really, we're going to talk about every single move that's made across the entire National Football League, because obviously that impacts the Niners directly and indirectly, because that only means they're going to miss out on some of those players. Some of the players are going to be going up against the Niners this upcoming season and joining some of their rivals. So join us Monday morning right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. We'll see you live. It'll be the most entertaining, insightful, and informative show right here on YouTube. As for what we're getting into on the docket for today's show, top free agent targets, and we have a top 50 list here. Could San Francisco bring back a former defensive lineman that a lot of you are familiar with? And history shows that under the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan regime, big moves could be in store for the Niners. It's so funny. I see people in the comment section, we don't have any cap space. The Niners realistically could clear up 70, 80, 90 plus million dollars going into Monday's free agency period. And I think that's exactly what they're going to be able to do. Improve this roster a lot going into 2024. And then we'll round out with the mailbag. Get involved. Get those questions in. How do you do that? Easy. Hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. With that, rep your city. Let us know where you're watching from. We're coming to you from the Chat Sports Studios right here on the 49ers Report. But where are you? Let me know in the chat. We'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Elvin Santiago, Chase, what's the news with Debo? Nothing really new on that front other than San Francisco potentially being willing to deal him. I don't think it's going to happen, or they're going to face that situation until after the 2024 season. Mike Concho, Brentwood, California. Elvin is in New Jersey. Bryant, my guy, he's in East Orange, New Jersey. Wow, what's good, Chase? Not much, man. Happy that you're here. Big Hurt, Richmond, Virginia. Troy M. getting us started with the $10 super chat. Wait, is Chase a Niner fan? Sixers fan? Temple grad? Nah, you're my twin, Chase. Did we become best friends? Yup. Yo, you're a real one? Yes, we are best friends. Just like me and producer Jeremy Chuggs, who I think is producing his first 49ers Report live. So everybody welcome in the man, the myth, the legend, Jeremy Chuggs.
It's okay. Settle down, settle down. How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Got a jam-packed show for you today. Creeping into NFL free agency. Could the Niners make a surprise move? A lot of moves already made today. We broke down, Chase, this morning. A couple guys who got cut early this morning. Yep. Justin Simmons, Jordan Poyer, we were talking about it earlier. Could one of these surprise cuts, maybe a guy who's a former 49er, get signed this offseason?
Yeah.
NFL free agency is just...
It's going to be awesome.
It's the best.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Mike Concho typing Chugs. You love to see that. If you want to join that train, type Chugs in the chat. Troy M. said, new nickname, J Chugs. Well, his nickname is Jeremy Chuggs because his real name is Jeremy Beadling. He also just got married in Mexico. So if you want to say congratulations to Chuggs, you can say that in the chat as well. $10 super chat coming in from Troy M. And with that, Troy, you don't even know this probably. That gets you in the running to win a Niners jersey. We'll announce the winner at the end of March. Anytime somebody sends in a $10 super chat, that is one raffle ticket to win a Niners jersey. We just announced our winner from February. It's Gump Wolf. We're going to get him a Brock Purdy jersey. So exciting stuff in store. $20 super chat. We'll give you a Niner mug cheers.
Hey.
$50 super chat. You get to get a gold sticker to go on our Niners helmet.
And you know what? I'm still feeling the Cancun vibe. So
All right.
every 50, I'll take a tequila shot. Let's get a little crazy.
Let's go.
Let's get wild.
And if anybody wants to send in a $100 super chat, we're going to shotgun a beer. And that gets you in the running for our 49ers Report month-long MVP, where we'll send you a customized 49ers Report football. So just like that, we're already up to $20 in super chats. Elvin Santiago, can the surprise move be Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns? Well, Brian Burns is going to have to be a trade because he got franchise tagged.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling out that possibility, but it could happen. Danielle Hunter, though, unrestricted free agent. We're going to talk about him coming up here in just a little while. Colton Kane, I can do $100. Colton Kane, you send in a $100 super chat.
I'll do a couple shots.
He'll do a couple shots. I'll do a shotgun.
Shot.
It's a Thirsty Thursday live here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Bryant, my guy, one of our 49ers Report Hall of Fame members, as he got a customized jersey from us about a year ago at this point. He went crazy during free agency. He said, I want Chris Jones. Anybody wanting to have a Chris Jones conversation? Did a video earlier today talking about that possibility. The likelihood is very low, but everybody can dream. And as we're about to talk about here in our second segment, history shows under this Niners regime, a big move could be in store. Stay tuned to figure out why that could be the case here on the San Francisco 49ers.
Shanahan showing you Javon Hargrave saying, we have Chris Jones at home.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's probably going to cost north of $30 million per year.
I mean, it's going to be a pretty penny to get him.
Yeah. How about this one? Shane, hi, chat, from Brisbane, Australia.
Good
Love
day,
the
mate.
show and the Niners. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi.
Good day, mate. Got some family still living in Melbourne, and my dad grew up in Melbourne, so always happy to see some Aussies in the chat, and it's really, really cool to see people tuned in from Australia who are watching the 49ers Report. Mint Eastwood, a $2 super chat.
Oh.
This is very cool, and this is how you support the program right here. I signed up for Prize Picks with your code. Thank you. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. How cool is that? How cool is that? Mint Eastwood. That's what you call a real one.
Pretty good name.
So Bryant said, my dream free agent signing is Chris Jones. Who is your dream free agent signing for the San Francisco 49ers? Get those names in really quickly, and then we'll start the official show. Wow, Aka said bang, bang. Portuguese in the chat. It's just one of the coolest things, Chugs, to see people rocking and rolling with this across really the entire Chat Sports brand from all across the globe.
Oh, Portugal, bucket list to go over there.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Portugal and Spain, maybe get some of those tapas over there.
Oh, see, tapas. That's a place here in Dallas that I've been to a couple of times, and it's fantastic. Antonio said Willie Gay has speed and he can play. If you're not sure that Dre Greenlaw is going to be back, that's a great linebacker target. Draco said, let me get White and Morse. He's throwing out some more names. Patrick Queen from Muhammad. Wet Noodle, Bobby Wagner, Lore, Justin Simmons. A lot of good names coming into the chat here.
Simmons and Hufanga would be nice.
Yeah, although I like Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga. But if you want to have three safeties, because a lot of teams are increasingly starting to do that.
That's the kid from Penn State.
Yeah, third-round pick. And he played really good when he had to, ironically, replace
Matabuke also franchise tag.
He got franchise tag, too. If they cut Eric Armstead, that's a pretty large dead cap hit number. So, all right, I'm ready to start the show. If you're ready to start the show, what I need everybody to do right now is hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. A really good free agency preview coming up. We're going to take a look at the top 50 free agent targets for the San Francisco 49ers. Could the Niners bring back DJ Jones, and could big moves be on the horizon? And then we'll start to take your questions as well. And then another reminder, $50 gets you on the Niners helmet. $100, let's do this. Every $100 that we get, so we're 70 away right now, sitting at $30 in Super Chats. Every $100 that we get, I'll shotgun a beer. Chugs is down to take some shots. We're ready to rock. We want to hear from you. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat. That's how you can get your questions featured right here live on the San Francisco 49ers Report. While Alka, give us some updates. We're about to give you some updates right now. Well, Alka also said, let's go. I'm ready to go. You're ready to go. Producer Chugs is ready to go. San Francisco. The official show starts right now. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and I'm Chase Senior. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. As for what we're getting into, the top Niners free agent targets, we're going to take a look at 50 players who San Francisco could sign, with free agency getting underway on Monday. First, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Manscaped. The brand new Lawnmower 5.0 will get you right below the waist, and it'll have your significant other feeling really happy that you took care of yourself. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. Use the code 49ers20 for that deal to apply. All right, excited to dive into this show because the San Francisco 49ers, when you canvass this roster, they have a couple of needs all across this team where they could fortify a couple of spots to have them back being a contender in the NFC so that they could get on that quest for 6. And I think you want to start here with the backup quarterback position behind Brock Purdy, because I think it's important to find a quality backup behind him, because if he were to go down, you want to have an established signal caller with the team that is destined to once again be a Super Bowl contender who can step right in and not miss too much of a beat. And this backup quarterback market is a pretty good one. Gardner Minshew stepped in for Anthony Richardson. He was so good for the Indianapolis Colts, and he's been an accomplished veteran also with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacoby Brissett, one of the top backups in the league for the last 5 years or so. Joe Flacco was on his couch. He replaces Deshaun Watson. He led the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs, and he was slinging it outside of him getting intercepted a lot. If you want some more athleticism, you can go the way of Ryan Tannehill, or you could bring back Sam Darnold. And let's talk about Sam Darnold here. He carried a cap hit in 2023 of $5.7 million. With this roster getting increasingly expensive, could the Niners go elsewhere and draft a developmental quarterback worth a fraction of the price? That could be smart financial planning for San Francisco in that regard. If you want to pay up, Gardner Minshew is a player that you could invest in here. Completion rate last year of 62% with the really good play caller and Shane Steichen. You kind of got a peek as to what he could do under a head coach like Kyle Shanahan. 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. You don't want to be overly reliant on him having to throw the football all that much, but in this offense for the Niners, you wouldn't have to worry about that with Christian McCaffrey being your bell cow. So Gardner Minshew, a couple of those other players, they are viable options if you want to invest heavily in a backup quarterback behind Brock Purdy. As we know, the Niners don't need a starting running back. If they want a cost-controlled asset to back them up because of the injury issues to Elijah Mitchell, Devin Singletary was solid last year for the Houston Texans. I think by now, with the sample size that we've seen with the Buffalo Bills and Houston, he's better suited as a backup in this league. Alexander Mattison was let go by the Minnesota Vikings. Antonio Gibson, solid backup for Washington. J.K. Dobbins coming off yet another Achilles tear. And then there's Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, his best days are behind him. Last year with the New England Patriots, a late signing, 184 totes, 642 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Before that, obviously a larger sample size here where he ran for a lot of yards. When you get inside the 5-yard line, he can be a physical back who finds the end zone to take some of those big hits away from Christian McCaffrey. As we know, he was utilized a lot inside the red area, a big reason why he led the NFL in touchdowns this past year. You don't need a high-end running back because you have CMC. Hopefully he doesn't age overnight as he led the NFL in rushing yards and in carries. But you could use a short yardage back because clearly this coaching staff, for whatever reason, hasn't put their full trust into a player like Jordan Mason. You're set at wide receiver with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. I do believe that number 11 and number 19 are going to start the season with the Niners, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jauan Jennings is back as well. But with a couple of free agents set to hit the market at that wide receiver spot, you could bring in an insurance policy. Odell Beckham Jr. operating out of the slot, he could draw a lot of mismatches and get a lot of really good opportunities with Ayuk and Deebo demanding a lot of attention. Calvin Ridley is a vertical threat who this past year with Jacksonville had more than 1,000 receiving yards as he came off that gambling suspension. Darnell Mooney, his first 2 years with Chicago, who is really good, and then he flatlined the last 2 years because he wasn't really a part of that offensive system under offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. You have Kendrick Bourne, who I think would be a Jauan Jennings replacement if another team gave Jauan Jennings the bag, scheme familiarity. I still think he can play, and he's good out of the slot. And if you want a burner who showed up in big-time games, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who was let go by the Kansas City Chiefs, could fit the bill there. As for Calvin Ridley, I want to see how much money he gets because the wide receiver market over the last couple of years has exploded. And Ridley is a player who's a little bit older, who hasn't been in the league all that long, who this past year had more than 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. He was really good. I think he could get more money than Darnell Mooney, who might land a short-term deal to prove that he could be the guy that we saw in 2021 when he had more than 1,000 yards, or in year one as a rookie when he had 61 catches and 631 yards. Last 2 years, though, as you can see, he was under 500 yards in each of those seasons with only 3 total touchdowns. MVS is that burner with playoff experience who has had a lot of bad drops throughout his career. Shaky hands. But in the biggest of moments, he always plays his best football. And obviously, San Francisco is envisioning another deep playoff run. And just imagine if you could see that vertical threat to take the top off of the defense with Ayuk, Deebo, and George Kittle on the offensive side of the football for the Niners here. Now make sure you join us on Monday. That is the start of NFL free agency, and we'll be live on Monday morning for several hours talking about all of the moves that happen across the NFL and for the Niners, so hit that sub button right now. I've been saying over the last couple of off seasons, get a viable pass-catching option at tight end to help out George Kittle a little bit. This allows Kittle to maybe catch more passes. Part of his strength is being a blocker as well, but this just makes your offense a little bit more multiple. And there are solid backup tight ends who are not going to demand a massive price tag. Noah Fant, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Gerald Everett, and Austin Hooper. Noah Fant is a really athletic tight end who's had a lot of production throughout his career. Last 2 years with Seattle, he was a part of that Russell Wilson trade. His numbers went down, not targeted as much when you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and then this past year, Jackson Smith and Jigba. But for a backup tight end, you'd be hard-pressed to find better backups at the tight end spot than a player like Noah Fant, who's still athletic, can run that seam ball, can break tackles in the open field. I'd like to see him be a little bit of a weapon as a tight end, too, for this Niners offense, which has not had a legitimate weapon at the tight end spot next to George Kittle really over the last couple of years. Next up, we're going to talk about the Niners' need for an offensive lineman, and we're going to discuss offensive guards and offensive tackles. So let's speak it into existence and get the message across to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in case they're watching this show. If you want the Niners to address offensive line, just simply spam O-line right now in the chat. To me, it's been the area that's held the Niners back in the last 2 playoff runs. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Manscaped. Top of the morning to you, or top of the evening to you, depending on where you're watching from, because people watch this show from all across the globe. This episode of the Niners Report brought to you by the St. Patrick's Day Shamrock Shavers Manscaped. This year, don't just chase rainbows, make your own pot of gold, and groom your little leprechaun with the leaders in below-the-kilt care, or your big leprechaun. Say goodbye to your clover forest with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and let your confidence shine bright. Embrace the luck of the Irish and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com/49ers, code 49ers20 for 20% off and free shipping. Ever since I've used Manscaped, I can proudly say I found my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Meet your new lucky charm for St. Patrick's Day, the new Lawnmower 5.0. This trimmer comes with 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, one for a classic trim, and one, a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Equipped with dual LED spotlights, you can navigate your shamrock patch in peace. Worried you'll make a mess? Fear not. This wonder is waterproof. Shave by the misty moors under a waterfall or even during a rain dance. So one more time, it's manscaped.com/49ers. Use the code 49ers20 for 20% off and free shipping. We'll put that link down below in the comments section and in the description of this video. As Mike Concho is saying in the chat, you can look like a baby. Top offensive tackles here. This is not a bad offensive tackle free agency class, but I'm interested to see how much money some of these offensive tackles get, knowing that the offensive tackle and offensive guard draft class is loaded. Tyron Smith, not going to go back to the Dallas Cowboys, according to a multitude of reports. Jonah Williams asked for a trade last year. That trade request was not granted. Mike Owenu can play tackle or on the interior. Mekhi Becton is a young player who is a really good athlete, but has been bad for New York the last couple of years. And then you have Trent Brown, who started his career with San Francisco, became a Pro Bowler with the Raiders, went to the New England Patriots, and was a trusted force by Bill Belichick. Mike Owenu is one of my favorite targets in free agency for the Niners. I think he's a good scheme fit. He packs a good punch. He's physical, can get out in space in the run. He can give you tackle play and guard play. Overall Pro Football Focus grade in 2023 of 71.5, 3 sacks allowed, 2 hits, 18 hurries, and 4 penalties. What I would do in free agency for the Niners here, I would spend big on guard and then draft an offensive tackle. Unless you have a feeling that Graham Barton out of Duke might fall to you at 31. And there are so many good offensive linemen in this draft class that some of them are bound to drop, leaving the Niners with a really good situation where they can draft an offensive guard or an offensive tackle who can be a mainstay for your organization over the next 7 to 10 years. But if you don't think some of those good players are going to drop, do you invest on the interior here? And if that's the case, you go offensive tackle in the draft. Speaking of the interior, some solid players here as well. Robert Hunt was one of the highest graded pass blockers in football last year, and he excelled under Mike McDaniel. Kevin Dotson actually just re-signed, as we were recording this, with the Los Angeles Rams. He's going back there, I believe, on a 3-year deal. Connor Williams, Grant Glasnow, and Jonah Jackson. 2 Detroit Lions there who are starters and are productive players. As for Robert Hunt, he graded out very, very well for Miami in 2023. His season cut short, only played 10 games, 547 snaps, but an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 77.1. He only gave up 1 sack, only gave up 1 hit, 3 hurries, and 2 penalties. And when you play in a Mike McDaniel offense, you have to be able to get out in space, on the run. You have to get to that second level with ease and quickness to make blocks downfield for wide receivers or running backs. What it comes down to, when you talk about the offensive line for the Niners, the trenches on the offensive side of the pill, simply not good enough in 2022 or in 2023. And until the Niners take offensive line more seriously, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to win a Super Bowl. Have to invest in that area. To edge rushers now. Danielle Hunter, Chase Young, Bryce Huff, Jonathan Grenard, Jadeveon Clowney. That's a list of really, really quality players. Chase Young is 24 years old. Bryce Huff right around there. Jonathan Grenard just got to the end of his rookie contract. Danielle Hunter is 29. Jadeveon Clowney, he's a little bit older, but in a good scheme, he can get after the quarterback, and last year, honestly, he had one of the best years of his career. Now, we've talked about Hunter, we've talked about Chase Young, we've talked about Bryce Huff a lot here on the show. A player falling under the radar, I think for a lot of casual fans out there, and for some Niner fans, some people have mentioned him, is Jonathan Greenlaw. He had a career year this past year under DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, what the Niners like to run, you have the scheme familiarity there. 15 games played, 12.5 sacks, 22 quarterback hits. He's probably a little bit better against the run compared to a player like Bryce Huff. And as we know, the Niners need to be better against the run. And Jonathan Greenlaw, I'm not sure he's going to get high-level defensive end money, but he's still young. I think he's starting to round into form as a really productive player. That's a target to keep an eye out for San Francisco. From edge to the interior of the defensive line. Chris Jones might demand more than $30 million. So that's a pipe dream for San Francisco. Christian Wilkins could demand $25 to $30 million. Really good player for the Miami Dolphins. Leonard Williams, he's in his 30s now. He's been productive throughout his career, but to me, he's a little bit inconsistent. As a backup, I wouldn't hate it. It'd come down to the price tag. All indications I get are that Fletcher Cox of the Philadelphia Eagles is either going to retire or go somewhere else. The players speaking of him kind of talk about him in Philadelphia in past tense. But he was good this past year, 5.5 sacks, and is pretty good against the run. And did the Niners want to bring back Javon Kinlaw, who I think may have outpriced himself by finally staying healthy and being productive this year for San Francisco? I think what the Niners need to do here along the interior of the defensive line, one, you need to get a good edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa at edge. And then at defensive tackle, you have Eric Armstead. I don't think he's realistic to move on from because of the dead cap charge. Last offseason, you gave Javon Hargrave a 4-year, $84 million deal. They're not great in stuffing the run. You need to get a run-stuffing defensive tackle to beef up in the trenches there. To linebacker, the question mark with Dre Greenlaw is a big question mark for San Francisco. Is he going to be able to be back for week 1? If not, how long is he out going into the year? Patrick Queen is probably going to be a little bit too expensive, but he's an excellent off-ball linebacker. A reunion with Azeez Al-Shire would be great because he knows the system, and in his first full season as a full-time starter last year with Tennessee, fifth in tackles for loss. Very instinctual and fast player. Frankie Lavue is like an analytical darling. Drew Tranquill of the Kansas City Chiefs can be used in the pass as well as in blitz packages. And then Bobby Wagner is older, but he's still going to give you more than 100 tackles every single year, and he brings you Hall of Fame level experience. I think San Francisco here has to have an insurance policy for Dre Greenlaw because you can't count on him being ready early in the year coming off that Achilles tear. I know some doctors are optimistic that he's going to be able to come back. But is he going to be able to be the same player? One, and again, you can't count on him to be back for week 1. Let's segue to the cornerback position. I don't think it would hurt for San Francisco to address cornerback here. Kendall Fuller of the Washington Commanders, Chidobe Awuzie, Stephon Gilmore, Xavier Howard, and Kenny Moore. These are some pretty solid corners where Fuller, Awuzie, Gilmore, Xavier Howard, they're outside corners. Kenny Moore is a guy who I like because he's not going to demand a massive salary. He can set the edge, not afraid to hit you, and he's a solid nickel slot corner. In that instance, you bring this question up. What are the Niners' plans for Deomodore Lenoir? Do you want to keep him in slot nickel because he plays so well there and he's a little bit shorter? Or, as he's shown us, he can thrive on the outside. And if that's the case, do you go after a player like Kenny Moore in the slot? Or it's a really good draft class for slot nickel corners where it's a little bit thin for perimeter cornerbacks. Your decisions and your plans for Deomodore Lenoir kind of change what you're going to do in free agency at the cornerback position. Lastly, the safety spot. I'm really high on the future safety tandem of Talanoa Hufanga and Jair Brown. Is Talanoa Hufanga going to be too expensive? Tore his ACL last year. He was an all-pro in year 2. He is due for a contract extension. Are you wary to give him that coming off that injury? He's probably not going to get it this offseason unless you think that he's going to make that 100% recovery, and then you can get him at a discounted rate. If you plan on moving on from Hufanga after 2024, do you sign one of these safeties? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, we know he has the beef with Deebo Samuel. Xavier McKinney, his price point is going to be increased and high. He played 100% of the snaps last year for New York. He's a really good player. Julian Blackmon, like his game for the Indianapolis Colts. Jordan Fuller, Jeremy Chin, more affordable options. Geno Stone, according to Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta, one of the best 7th-round picks they've ever had as an organization. Kevin Byard is a veteran. Jamal Adams, please no. Quandre Diggs could make some sense. And then Jordan Poyer. You also have Justin Simmons, who was released by the Denver Broncos early on Thursday. And in 4 of the last 5 years, he's either been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro. And he has 4 second-team All-Pros to his name. Tashaun Gibson is obviously an option too, if you want to re-sign him for a pretty affordable rate. So we just went through 50 free agent targets for the San Francisco 49ers. 51. If you bring up Justin Simmons, even better, because we leave no meat on that bone. Which free agents do you like the most? Drop us some names down below in the comments section. And as always, thanks for watching the show. 51 free agents, Chubb.
Actually, speaking of 50, we got a 50 bomb from Gumpwolf!
All right. Arriba!
Tequila.
Let
me go get that, and you can talk about this.
Yes. We'll talk about the Super Chat here. Also, that gets us to, let's see, $92 in Super Chats. If we get $8 more, I'm shotgunning a beer right here on the show because I said every $100 that we get, it's Thirsty Thursday. Let's get it. Gumpwolf with this one. I have some here, yeah. Gumpwolf, Simmons would be a good pickup just to help at safety in case Talanoa Hufanga is unable to go. Hi, Chase, Faithful, and welcome to the show, Wiggins. Gumpwolf, thank you for that $50 Super Chat. Again, 8 away from getting to 100, and then we'll take down a little bit of a shotgun. Wow, Alka said 100. Chase, go. Wow, Alka also said, we fuck with you, Chase. I'm glad that you fuck with me. That means a lot. So Chugs is going to get his tequila. He's going to rip some shots thanks to Gumpwolf. And then we're closing in on a shotgun for your boy. Solo Live. Nick Dofer, $28 Super Chat. Prost, Niners for life. All right, that's a shotgun. Also had this $10 Super Chat come in from John. Now he's in the running for a Niners jersey giveaway at the end of the month. Do you think that Andy Reid will recognize Kyle Shanahan during his Hall of Fame speech for helping him become one of the top 5 coaches in NFL history? Wow. Shots fired there, John Edwards. Yeah, Andy Reid, 3 Super Bowls now, 2 against Kyle Shanahan. You know what's crazy too, John? The parallels of Andy Reid's early coaching career to Kyle Shanahan's. Andy Reid, to start the century, made it to 4 straight NFC Championship games, 1 Super Bowl and lost. He was in Philadelphia for 14 years and made it to 5 NFC Championship games, only 1 Super Bowl appearance. He was tabbed as the coach who can never win the big game. And Kyle Shanahan now.
That's why the Eagles let him go.
4 NFC titles in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances in those 5 years, and what is he known as? The coach who can't win the big game, and both are awful at clock management, but both are offensive geniuses.
And it makes you wonder, Andy Reid had Donovan McNabb early in his career. Obviously, a really good quarterback, not regarded as, a top quarterback of the decade, I would say.
So his prime was short-lived, but in the early 2000s, it was Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Donovan McNabb. Now, that was only for like 3 to 5 years. But after that, Reed didn't have great quarterbacks.
I wonder the parallel, because now you have Brock Purdy with the Niners.
And Jimmy Garoppolo.
Is he the Donovan McNabb of now? He's going to be – he's not the top guy. He's not there with Patrick Mahomes, I would say, in the very top tier. But if he plays well this year, he's going to be in that next tier.
Yeah, and – the Eagles, imagine how many Super Bowls they could have won if they held on to Andy Reid. Now, it was time for them to move on 14 years.
This is for Gumpwolf,
a lot of frustrations, that shot for Gumpwolf. But we're talking about a very similar conversation here between Andy Reid in Philadelphia and Kyle Shanahan with the Niners.
King Javier, what's up, my guy?
King Javier. I do think soon Kyle Shanahan's going to win a ring. It could come as early as a calendar year from now. We're talking about Kyle Shanahan raising a Lombardi trophy. And then the conversation obviously flips. And then he becomes loved by everybody. All right, shotgun for getting past 100 in supers. This is going to be faster, by the way, than the Xavier Worthy 40-yard dash of the 4.21. So this is for the faithful. We're just getting ready for next week.
Well, while he's chugging that, we're about to get into our next segment, but I have a quick question for you. Best free agent signing by the 49ers all time. Who do you think is the best signing the Niners have ever had in free agency? You're thinking back, you're like, dude, I cannot believe we signed this guy.
That's a good point. Nick Dolfer said, Jeremy, so true, and Brock's first full year was last year. It will come. I'm going to come.
Deion Sanders being named by a couple people.
That's a great one. They signed Deion Sanders, and then they win the Super Bowl. And then he becomes a Bay Area legend.
I think it's all Deion. Hacksaw Reynolds.
Nice. Martin Walker, probably Deion. Klarsard said Deion.
Hacksaw Reynolds has to be a guy that played in the 70s or 80s.
Laura said Jerry Rice, but they drafted Jerry Rice. A lot of Deion's in the chat. That all started with Bryant.
When did Hacksaw Reynolds play?
I'll look at the years here.
Justin Smith, was he? I don't know if he was signed, but he was a sneaky good defensive lineman for the Niners for many years.
Great nickname, Cowboy. So, Hacksaw Reynolds, Jack Reynolds, played with the Niners from 81 to 84.
With a nickname like that, you know that's a guy in the 80s.
2 Pro Bowls and 2 Super Bowls.
I was actually talking to my older brother the other day about this. Have football nicknames gotten worse? In the 80s, 90s, like Sweetness.
Hacksaw.
The Fridge.
Cowboy.
We don't really have any nicknames for, it's just like abbreviations like JJ.
Yeah.
Like Jeddah. Not a lot of nicknames around anymore. Mike is really forcing the whole lion thing, but he's just weird.
Somebody said Charles Haley. He started his career with the Niners, and then he was dealt to the Cowboys, and then he came back to the Niners 98, 99.
Didn't who is that really good Cowboys offensive lineman who then signed with the Niners? I think that was the case.
What era?
Yeah. Who was it? It was. He was like one of the best Cowboy offensive linemen of all time.
What era? Like 90s?
90s.
I forget. I don't know.
Larry Allen.
Is that it? Okay.
I believe he signed with the Niners.
All right, let's see this. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, he was with the Cowboys from 94 to 05, and then with the Niners 06, 07.
Yeah.
7-time first-team All-Pro. And was a Pro Bowler the first year with San Francisco. 11 Pro Bowls to his name.
Yeah.
So when you talk about legends, Chug's bringing up a legend right there.
Trent Williams was traded for.
Yeah, Trent Williams is traded for. Steve Young, that was the trade with the Bucks, but a legendary move by Bill Walsh. Christian McCaffrey was huge. That was a trade as well. Nick Dolfer said Justin Smith.
Dude, Justin Smith was... Also, I know it wasn't a signing, but what about the... that's a good one, Buddy Bear. The Condor, that's a good one. But I'm saying, like,
Justin Smith was a free agent signing. He started his career with the Bengals, 01 to 07, and then he was with the Niners, 08 to 2014. And he was a 5-time Pro Bowler. This is crazy because he was such a late bloomer. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, all with the Niners, 09 to 13, after he signed with the Niners in 08, and a first-team All-Pro in 2011.
Wow. Stone Cold Fire. What up, Chase?
Stone Cold Fire. What up, what up? That's another raffle ticket for a Niners jersey and 16-bar King.
Let's go.
Still mad we couldn't land Peyton that year.
Oh, when it went to the Broncos.
Wow. That would have been nuts.
Yeah. I actually thinking the Niners drafted Navarro Bowman, right?
Yes.
That's one guy who, great trivia answer. I actually won a trivia game the other day with that as the answer of who was the only Niners defensive player to have back-to-back first-team All-Pros in the early 2000s.
Okay.
You would think it's Patrick Willis.
Yeah.
But it's actually Navarro Bowman.
Yeah, out of Penn State. Patrick Willis now going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Navarro Bowman, they call Penn State linebacking you. If he didn't hurt his knee, I think he had 5 more good years in him.
He was I remember him and Patrick Willis together.
Best linebacking duo.
Best interior linebacking duo, maybe of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Freddie? John Wallace is a guy who I know watched a ton of ball in the 80s.
Oh, no doubt. John Wallace, Russ Francis. What a name.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a possible reunion with a defensive lineman. Chase Sr., say it ain't so.
Ooh, yes. Segment number 2 coming up right now. Make sure everybody watching right now hits that thumbs up icon and you like the video. We're up to $140 in Super Chats. 60 more away from another shotgun, which again will be faster than the Xavier Worthy 40-yard dash and more shots for producer Jeremy Chuggs. But in the meantime, let's get to segment number 2 right here live on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, could the Niners bring back defensive tackle DJ Jones? And could a massive move or moves be in store for the Niners going into free agency? Because the previous history of this regime under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan point to something big happening. First, let's begin with DJ Jones here. According to my guy, 49ers Sports Talk on X, came out with this breaking news report on Thursday that the Niners have reached out to the Denver Broncos about the availability of defensive tackle DJ Jones per sources. Jones is a potential salary cap casualty for Denver, but a potential trade for a late round / pick swap, and Denver eating some of the salary is also on the table. A lot of people remember DJ Jones as being a late round pick for the Niners, one of those late rounders that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in this front office hit on, and he developed into a really, really solid player. And by the end of his tenure with the Niners in 2021, an impact player which allowed him to sign a 3-year, $30 million contract with Denver. And as a lot of you know, the Broncos are having a fire sale here. They're cleaning house. Why is that? It's all part of the Russell Wilson fallout. Russell Wilson was so bad, and Sean Payton disliked him so much that they are willing to eat all of the money on that contract and get rid of him 2 years into that contract extension, and they're paying him just to go away. But the trickle-down effect is that because the Broncos have to eat all of that cash flow, Denver's releasing a lot of players. Justin Simmons, all-pro safety, being one of them. I think DJ Jones would be a great fit for the Niners, whether he's let go by Denver and you can sign him in free agency, or I'm certainly willing, if Denver eats some of that salary, to trade a late round pick for him. DJ Jones knows your defensive system. He's excelled with the 49ers. He's what you need at defensive tackle as far as a run stuffer goes, because Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave are more pass rushing defensive tackles. And the Niners desperately need a bulky defensive tackle to fill the run gaps. And he gives you a really, really good defensive tackle rotation where, let's say, you have Hargrave, Armstead, DJ Jones. You have Kalia Davis on your roster as well. you draft another defensive tackle, I think you're set there. Now, it probably signals that Javon Kinlaw is going to go somewhere else, but you can survive without the services of Javon Kinlaw. As for what DJ Jones has done in his last 4 years, 2 of the last 2 years, including with the Denver Broncos in 2023, 16 games played, he had 46 tackles, 5 TFLs, 2 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. So he generated 3 giveaways just by his lonesome right there. And in 2022, in addition to having 6 pass breakups, which I think is an underrated skill for a defensive lineman, he had 34 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Last year with the Niners, 56 tackles, 10 TFLs. So good against the run and good against the pass. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And then in 2020, in those 14 games played during that COVID year, he was seldom used. Not used as much. A little bit of a late bloomer who in 2021 came into his own, and that's why the Denver Broncos paid him big-time dollars in free agency. Now, more on why Denver might move on is because they signed him to a 3-year, $30 million contract extension after 2021. And as I said, a trade could be in play, or the Broncos might just cut him, and then you can get him at a fraction of that price tag of what he's due and owed by Denver, because the dead cap charge is $12.9 million, but a dead cap hit, he has a cap hit, of $12.9 million for Denver, but a $2.9 dead cap hit. So basically for Denver, you eat a little bit of salary, but if he's on the roster, you're giving him $12.9 million, and the Broncos right now are tight on cash flow. They're trying to find a quarterback. Sean Payton is trying to put his fingerprints on that Broncos roster to shape the team into being what he wants it to be. And all of these guys, Justin Simmons, DJ Jones, and more, Tim Patrick, another player who could get let go because he suffered back-to-back season-ending injuries, they're not Sean Payton's guys. Jones' Pro Football Focus numbers this past year, overall grade of 56.2. I guarantee you, if he comes to the Niners, those numbers would go up because you're playing on a better defense, on a better team, with better players on that defensive front. Run defense grade of 49, not great. Pass rush grade 58.5, but he had 14 hurries and 18 pressures. And when you put a solid player like that, who got overpaid by Denver, and that's why the Niners let him walk, because they weren't going to pay him $10 million per, and you put him next to a Nick Bosa, another edge rusher, maybe Chase Young, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, who is going to flank at defensive tackle, that elevates his game because the sole focus from the offensive line is not going to be on DJ Jones. So I think the best case scenario here is that Jones actually gets cut so that you don't have to trade for him, and then you're on the hook for that salary, and then you sign him to a new contract for cheap. And for DJ Jones, I don't think another team's going to give him all that much money. And I think because of that, the Denver Broncos are going to move on from him in some shape or form. So would you bring back DJ Jones? R for reunion, P for pass. Get in the comment section right now and join that conversation down below. Interested to see what the people are thinking on this front. Also, it's the offseason, but if you want to continue to support the Niners and support the 49ers Report, San Francisco shirts available right now. If you go to chatsports.com/SF, we have sold these and sent these all across America, but across the Atlantic Ocean to places like the UK, across the Pacific Ocean to places like Australia. Shout out to Dave Towers and family. Available in red and black, and we're going to put that link down below in the comment section as well as in the description of this video, chatsports.com/SF. Could big moves be in store for the Niners? History under this regime shows that the Niners could make big-time moves in NFL free agency. And the pairing of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan teamed up to take over this organization in 2017. So let's go year by year and take a look at some of the big moves that the Niners have made. Now in 2017, Shanahan and Lynch had to tear everything down and then build it back up. Still though, they brought in some solid players. Pierre Garçon at the time was a solid player. So too was Kyle Juszczyk and Robbie Gould. So the Niners made those signings, and then they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo in that deal with the New England Patriots, and at the end of the year, Garoppolo goes 5-0. And then in 2018, because of that hot end to the season from Jimmy G, they made Garoppolo the NFL's highest paid quarterback at the time, signed Richard Sherman, Jerick McKinnon, and Weston Richburg. Sherman was arguably your best corner. Jerick McKinnon, it didn't work out because of injuries, but he was a really solid running back. And then Weston Richburg, really good offensive lineman. Unfortunately for him, he suffered injuries, his career cut short. But when you signed him from the New York Giants, you gave him a lot of dough. In 2019, what did the Niners do? They traded for D4 to go all in on trying to win a Super Bowl. They signed Quallen Alexander to a deal that paid him more than $50 million. And they signed Tevin Coleman, who was a Kyle Shanahan favorite going back to the Atlanta days. And then in 2020, the Niners, they traded DeForest Buckner, disastrous trade, and then they drafted Javon Kinlaw, a bad miscalculation there. They paid Jimmy Ward to a contract extension. They paid Eric Armstead a contract extension, and they extended George Kittle, making him the highest paid tight end in the history of the NFL. In 2021, the Niners gave Trent Williams the largest contract ever for an offensive lineman in the history of the NFL. Kyle Juszczyk re-signed. Largest deal ever for a fullback. They signed Alex Mack, Pro Bowl level center. Samson Ebukam got solid money. And they made Fred Warner the highest paid off-ball linebacker in the NFL. In 2022, the Niners gave Charvarius Mooney Ward a 3-year, $42 million contract, and then they extended Deebo Samuel to a 3-year, $71.5 million deal. Fast forward a year later, in 2023, what did the Niners do? Signed Javon Hargrave to a 4-year, $84 million deal. And then right before the start of the regular season, they made Nick Bosa the richest non-quarterback in the history of football. So obviously the hit rate is not 100%. And all of those moves for the Niners did not work out. But there's a constant theme under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, especially in recent memory. They know that the Super Bowl window is open. They also know after another Super Bowl loss with the quarterback on a rookie deal that the Super Bowl window is closing. That time is becoming more and more precious. And in recent years, they've been aggressive. They've invested in this football team. They've handed out big deals. And to everybody out there saying, the Niners have no cap space, Chase. This is clickbait. No ball. Don't be a casual. And know that the Niners, with contract extensions, contract restructures, and cuts, they can free up realistically $90+ million. So I think another big move is in store, and I think the Niners are going to surprise a lot of people in doing that. If you want to talk some more Niners and get some more short-form content on top of the long-form content that we give you right here on the show, give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior on both platforms. Wow, a lot of super chats coming in during that segment. Fred Diggity, $10 super chat. He said, what's up, fellas? Diggity, diggity, diggity. Do the hump, do the hump. And then,
Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka.
John Edwards. So let's do a San Francisco $100 super chat. And here's what John Edwards had to say. Here's a $100 bill for being the best sports video network digital platform on the net. Jeremy Chuggs, A-grade edition.
Woo!
Love Jeremy's last name. And thanks for all the great insight and information. Now, I'm not capping here. Jeremy Chuggs is our best producer at Chat Sports.
Woo!
He actually made us realize as a company the value that a sidekick has on live shows. He brings a different level of energy. As you saw between segment 1 and segment 2, a great level of sports knowledge and sports history, a great personality. And my man just got married in Mexico.
Woo!
Was that last weekend? 2 weekends ago?
Yeah.
So say congratulations. And yeah, he's awesome. He also
My life's over!
hosts our Texans channel, brings humor to the table as well, and he's a great guy.
And me and Chase, the two food connoisseurs here at Chat Sports.
Yes.
Everybody else is afraid of veggies.
Yes, everybody else is afraid of veggies and good food.
Yes.
And they won't try things.
We
They're
tried
scared.
caviar for the first time at the Super Bowl.
Yes, we did. It was awesome.
A little bump.
It was awesome. Little bump.
Little bump of caviar.
Not a Las Vegas bump that some of you may know about. All right, we got past, what was that? $200 in Super Chats. We're up to $254 right now. And $100 Super Chat from John Edwards. That calls for another shotgun.
Real one.
Real one.
HF, I hate to say it, but trade Debo? He's been hurt way too often. Extend Ayuk and draft a wide receiver.
So I think that timeline
Oh, wow.
is that if you draft a wide receiver and you want to trade Debo and extend Ayuk, it's trading Debo after 2024. That's what I think happens because of some of the financial implications.
We'll break it down more because I'm going to have some of our best Super Chats in our mailbag coming up. You can also use hashtag 49ers if you want to get involved. But Chase is going to be answering all your questions coming up. So hashtag 49ers Super Chat. Ask anything around the 49ers, around the NFL. We're here to answer your questions. Have that back and forth. It's called Chat Sports, not Jeremy or Chase Sports. That's why we want to hear from you folks at home. So get down in the comment section. Give us some juicy questions.
Let's go.
What's your favorite color?
You heard from the man. Hashtag 49ers for Super Chat.
Green is mine.
We'll, of course, include your Super Chats as well.
Chase, red, green, or blue? I'm guessing those are one of your favorite colors.
Red.
Red's your favorite color?
Red. There
Nice.
you go. My mom loved red. Blue is my other favorite color.
You and your mom together? Purple.
Mike Concho, eat your veggies. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Do you think see, Mr. Laid Back, you got to use hashtag 49ers with a question like that so I can put it up on screen.
Yep.
I like the question, but you got to use the hashtag 49ers to get it up on screen.
My guy, Words of Wisdom, just want to welcome Jay Chugs to the Fan Bam. He's awesome. You know what? Our Raiders channel is the most profitable here at Chat Sports. So Jeremy is the producer and the sidekick and the basically co-host for the Raiders Report.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of you don't like the Raiders, but you love Jeremy Chugs.
Yeah.
And this week and today, he's helping me out. We don't get to work together often, but we might show the bosses the numbers today and be like, should we work together a little bit more?
People are talking.
People are talking.
Maybe change it up. We're trying new things here in the offseason. Also, a couple guys out. Our guy Trizzy Trace visiting the alma mater. Woo, pig suey!
Woo pig.
So
Mr. Laidback, you almost did it. You used hashtag and 49ers, but you put a space in between them. So just
right
combine
there.
them, my man.
We're so close.
Combine them, my man, and then we're good.
Lord Buddy Bear.
Lord Buddy Bear.
He knows of my work.
What a legend.
He knows of my work. Lord Buddy Bear, how are we doing? The only Lord in the chat I've seen so far.
Oh, wow. I just saw that photo of Jalen Hurts. Is that the one that you saw?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I saw him get rid of the goatee. He just went nude.
Yeah.
He took the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 right to the face.
I don't know how to feel about it.
He looks like he's 20 years old.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. HS says, Buddy Bear!
Buddy Bear.
All right, we're going to get into this mailbag, but if you want to get a question in, you can continue to put those questions in. It'll cycle through my feed. You have to use hashtag 49ers, just pulling back the curtain a little bit. You have to use hashtag 49ers because our system, the way it works, it only pulls questions onto my computer that use the hashtag 49ers or our super chats. So if you want to get on the program and ask your question, Mr. Laidback, he did it! Mr. Mr. Laid Back!
Mr. Laid Back! 808, 808, 808. Congratulations,
Woo!
you did it, my man. I love that question.
Electric.
I love
Absolutely electric. All right, Mr. Senior.
I'm ready to go.
Actually, I want to make sure that we're doing our sponsorly duties. So let me check our next sponsor. Is it
First Seven?
Okay, yeah. That's what I was checking. First
presented
Seven.
by and then First
And
Seven.
presented by. Yep, I was checking. I knew there was a time on there.
Joji, Kittle, and Juszczyk, 2 tight end formation. Here's the thing about Juszczyk. Way too expensive for a fullback. But every time they go to him, he makes a big play. All right, we are $46 away from 300 in Super Chat.
And he makes a lot of plays that you don't see with blocking.
Yes, he does.
And how they do their gap scheme blocking.
Yes.
I mean, you see the same thing. The Dolphins really value Alex Ingold.
Yep.
The Texans kind of found a guy in Andrew Beck out of the draft who
Ravens,
played
Chris
well.
Richard. Yeah.
So, one of my favorite players of all time. I grew up in Houston. I was a Texans fan. Very sad, I know. Shit organization growing up. Vontae Leach. Absolute dog.
Yeah, he was a dog. I know Mike Allstott was like more of a running back, but like technically kind of was a fullback.
Yeah.
Dog. Yeah, Vontae Leach was
Vontae Leach, the sledgehammer. Dude, he was insane. All right, we're going to get into this mailbag. So get those questions in, and Chase is going to answer all your questions.
Let's do it. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and coming up, we're going to open up the floor and take all of your questions from our loyal subscribers. One of my favorite segments right here on the show because we get to hear from you, and you have a platform to share how you're feeling about this football team and ask questions that you want answers to. I'm here to provide that. But first, today's show is sponsored by 8 Sleep. If you want to change your sleep, 8 Sleep is the answer. $200 off and free shipping on the new pod cover by going to 8sleep.com/chatsports. We'll tell you more about them coming up here in just a few moments. So free agency set to get underway on Monday. A lot of you want to know what the Niners' plans are, some potential targets, draft at the end of April. So let's just do it here. HF, $5 super chat. I hate to say it, but trade Deebo Samuel. He's been hurt way too often. Extend Brandon Ayuk and draft a wide receiver. I get what you're saying. Deebo Samuel signed that 3-year, $70+ million contract extension. He's been injured a lot. His production has been lower than what you anticipated from the 2021 season when he was an all-pro, absolute game changer, and an MVP candidate down the stretch. When that offense needed a big play, they went to Deebo. Kick returner, running back, wide receiver. He gives it all to you. But his playing style, very physical. How does he age? If injuries have been an issue for him, are they going to continue to be an issue at that price point? Can you afford to pay 2 wide receivers $50 million? That's a tall ask. What I think the Niners' plan might be is to run it back with this core for 2024. And then next offseason, depending on how the 2024 campaign goes, that's when you have to make more difficult decisions. Now, the NFL salary cap is going to continue to be on the uptick. So that's going to give clubs more money. But again, paying 2 wide receivers $50 million is a lot. So I think what the Niners' plan might be, give Brandon Ayuk a contract extension, lowers the cap hit for 2024, backload that deal, so you don't have to worry about 2 wide receivers making a lot of coin for 2024. Next offseason, you either cut or trade Deebo Samuel. This year in the draft, you draft a wide receiver in the first or second round, Xavier Worthy at 31. Another wide receiver in a deep wide receiver class in round 2. You develop them this year. You have them be a primary focal point next year. Let go of Deebo. Then you have Ayuk and that second-year player. Maybe you have Juwan Jennings still on the team, and that's kind of the plan at wide receiver. Interested to see what the Niners do. Gump Wolf, $50 super chat from one of our legends here on the show. Justin Simmons would be a good pickup To help just in case Talanoa Hufanga is unable to go, hi Chase Faithful, and welcome to the show, Wiggins. Welcome to the show, Wiggins. Gump Wolf, you bring up a good point. But I will say this. I think that Talanoa Hufanga is going to be able to be back just because of the medical advancements of ACL tears. I remember when I was growing up, I was born in 92, growing up in, let's say, the early 2000s. You suffered a torn ACL. At that point, it was still looked at as like a potential career ender or like a 12 to 16 month injury. And now players are coming back in 8 months from a torn ACL. So if Hufanga is going to be ready for the offseason activities, I'm really high on a Talanoa Hufanga, Jair Brown safety tandem. I think both of them are really quality instinctual players who are tough and bring that hard-nosed element to your defense. Justin Simmons, for the last 5 years, he's been a second-team All-Pro. He's led the NFL in interceptions since coming into the league in 2016. He's been a ball hawk. But I don't know if the Niners, because they have Hufanga and Jair Brown, are going to pay him the money that Justin Simmons might want in free agency, where he can go to another Super Bowl contender and get paid a little bit more. I do like the thought, though. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by 8 Sleep. And let me pose this question for everybody watching the show. Do you want to sleep better? Do you want to sleep to power a whole new you? Do you want basically what is a mattress pad that you can lower and have temperature control go down to 55 degrees or up to 110 degrees? 8 Sleep is your answer. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and your health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. There is no better way to improve your day-to-day life better than sleep. And the easiest way to do that is with the 8 Sleep Pod 3. Start the new year right and invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Everything can be controlled by the power of your phone. You could put this device right next to your bed. So go to 8sleep.com/chatsports. When you use that link, you get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep, and you invest in the rest that you deserve. I know a lot of you have been in the comment section saying, Chase, you look tired, your eyes, you need some more sleep. I'm working on it. But all this week, I've been on the Pod 3 cover. Sleep has been better. I'm looking less tired. I'm feeling great. And the run streak is past 300. Gump Wolf, $10 super chat. Chugs, you are a great fit for the show. Producer Jeremy Chugs is a legend here at Chat Sports. So everybody type Chugs down in the chat right now. Our guy Bryant, I want Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a fascinating conversation to have because Chris Jones has wrecked the Super Bowl chances in Super Bowl 54 in 2019 and then in Super Bowl 58 this past season. I think he's been the best defensive tackle in the game the last couple of years over Aaron Donald. Good against the run, good against the pass. He's dominated the interior of this Niners offensive line, throwing cats at the club like it's nothing. He's very good at generating pressures and sacks on the quarterback, but because he's such a game changer, where I kind of look at him, quickness of Reggie White, power of Warren Sapp, a team's going to be willing to pay him $30+ million per year, and the Niners are already paying big-time money to Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead. So it's a pipe dream. It would be incredible. Just don't think it's realistic. Jacob Martin, unpopular opinion. If the Niners get the right side of the offensive line fixed, both guard and tackle in free agency, they can get a corner in the draft. Who would you take? I would say Kool-Aid McKinstry. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think he's going to fall to 31 because of the Jones fracture in his foot. According to sources, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, the Niners have shown interest in him. He didn't partake in the workouts at the NFL Scouting Combine. He could slip a little bit in the draft. Is he a safety? Is he a corner? He's a rare member of the White Corner Club, so we'll see what position he plays. Kool-Aid McKinstry is awesome. I think his teammate, Terrion Arnold, is a little bit better, but Kool-Aid has ball skills, interception skills, coverage skills. Doesn't necessarily have the long speed, but I love what he said at the Combine, where he's like, cornerbacks who show off long speed are oftentimes the corners who get beat. It's kind of a good point. Like, you have to have instincts, you have to have feel, you have to have toughness. He could play a little press man, he could play in the zone at 31. That'd be pretty good. And Jacob, there's a possibility that the Niners just go offensive tackle, offensive guard in free agency, allowing them to go cornerback 31. They could go defensive line 31 to get a run stuffer. The options are open, and we'll find out starting on Monday what the Niners' plans are. What is your unpopular opinion that you have? Jacob, starting that question off. I like it. John Edwards, $10 super chat. Do you think that Andy Reid will recognize Kyle Shanahan during his Hall of Fame speech for helping him become one of the top 5 coaches in NFL history? Legitimately, Andy Reid, now that he has 3 rings, might be the best offensive mind at the head coaching spot outside of Bill Walsh in NFL history, and he's definitely a top 5 coach in the history of the game. I heard John Middlecoff, who has a 3 and Out podcast on the Volume Podcast Network, had a great decade-long run with Guy Haberman on the Haberman and Middlecoff podcast. That's the pod I started to listen to when I took over the 49ers Report to be well-versed in talking about the Niners. John's going to do his own thing. Guy's going to do his own thing. But Middlecoff said the other day, and it was hilarious, Andy Reid is the fat Bill Walsh. And he really is. Like, West Coast offense, innovative mind, creative mind, elevates the play of the quarterback, very creative. And he's become a top 5 coach by winning these 3 Super Bowls. And Kyle Shanahan has become the victim of 2 of those Super Bowl wins. And the parallels between Andy Reid early in Philadelphia and Kyle Shanahan with San Francisco, they're so close. Andy Reid, starting in 2000, made it to 4 straight NFC Championship games, multiple big game collapses and choke jobs, made it to Super Bowl 39 and lost to the New England Patriots. Awful clock management, offensive guru who can never win the big one. He was in Philly for 14 years, 5 NFC Championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance. And now you have Kyle Shanahan, offensive guru, very creative, awesome play caller like Andy Reid, has changed the way that the game of football is played with the offensive system and the play designs and the play calling. But one thing has evaded Kyle Shanahan like Andy Reid in Philadelphia, winning the big game. They're also both terrible at game management. Kyle Shanahan, 4 NFC Championship games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances in that stretch, and hasn't won the big game. I think, like Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan soon is going to win a Super Bowl, and when he does, you can't really write the history books of the NFL without the imprint of Kyle Shanahan. And I like what Mike Shanahan said. How do you get over a heartbreaking loss? You just got to fucking keep on moving. It's basically what he said. Draco, top 5 draft crushes for the Niners. Ooh, good question. Graham Barton, offensive lineman out of Duke. Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers. Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle out of BYU. J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I say that because he might fall to the Niners at 31. But Troy Fatanu is a fucking dog. So those are 4 right there. I'll go to a skill position player next, I guess. Man, the wide receiver position is so fascinating. The fact that Brian Thomas is like 200 plus pounds and ran a 4.4, that's a draft crush for me. So that's 5 right there. I might just keep it going. A.D. Mitchell He ran fast. I think he's going to be the better player than Xavier Worthy. I like Xavier Worthy as a fit on the Niners because the vertical threat with Debo and Ayuk would be absolutely fascinating. But those are some draft crushes for me, for sure. Mr. Laidback 808. Which players will the Niners draft? Brendan Rice, Frank Gore Jr., or Luke McCaffrey? I think all three are realistically in play, and I think the Niners might give into the family business element of this. But look, Brendan Rice is a good wide receiver, ran a 4.5, so he's not all that fast. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds, a little bit bigger, a little bit taller than his pops. Luke McCaffrey ran a faster 40-yard dash than Christian, and he could be a really good slot receiver who can just put you in a turnstile out of the slot. And then Frank Gore Jr., late-round pick. Niners need a backup running back. I like his balance. He said he's a little bit more agile than his dad, while his dad was a little bit more physical. I honestly think, and I'm not just saying this, I think all three are in play. I did a full breakdown on all three of these players on the 49ers report, so go back and check that out. How about them Niners? What do you think about adding a nickel like Kenny Moore or a safety like Ashton Davis in free agency? I like the idea. And it all kind of comes down to how the Niners envision Deomodore Lenoir's future. He's up for a contract extension. He doesn't have that fifth-year option availability because he was a fifth-round pick out of Oregon. That only goes to first-round picks. Do you see him as a slot or do you see him as a perimeter corner? If he's an outside guy, you got to address slot nickel. You try to do that this past offseason, and it didn't work. And you look at a player like Kenny Moore. I've profiled him a lot here on the show. He could play the run. He could set the edge. He's a good tackler. He's a pretty good cover guy. I don't know about Ashton Davis, but slot nickel or another safety who can play slot nickel hybrid linebacker type, I would like that type of player. You do have that type of guy in Talanoa Hufanga, who's that hybrid linebacker safety prototype, but I would like a slot corner for sure. Again, it kind of comes down to how you vision the role being of Deomodore Lenoir. If you want him to continue to be a slot guy, then you have to kind of address outside corner. So who's your top free agent target? Let me know down in the chat. Drop me some names. Always want to hear your feedback and your intellect right here on the show. Nobody killed you. I'm still alive. I want to live for a really, really long time because I love life. So I'm glad I'm still standing here. Do you think things would be different between Andy Reid and Travis Kelce if they lost? No, because you still have the 2 rings, and you're looking at the season, and you're like, wow, our offense wasn't good all year. We underperformed. We still made it to the Super Bowl when nobody thought we were, and we made it to back-to-back Super Bowls. And Andy Reid basically said, like, yeah, never do that again, but look, Travis Kelce is a competitor. Andy Reid acknowledged that. And in the heat of the moment, when you're in the foxhole, you want nothing else than to have a guy like Travis Kelce who's a foxhole guy, who's an uber competitor. Elvin, $10 super chat. Can the surprise move be Danielle Hunter or Brian Burns? Danielle Hunter, I think, is in play. He's 5th in the NFL in sacks in 2023 with 16.5. Brian Burns, because he got franchise tagged, would have to be a trade candidate. So you'd have to give up capital to trade for him, and then you'd have to give him a contract extension. So of those two, I'd say Brian Burns, the least likely. Before we hop on out of here, make sure you give me a follow on X at Chase_Senior. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Here on the show, we give you long-form content, short-form content. Sometimes, though, I love talking ball so much. I love talking Niners so much that I'll put up my phone and I'll just rap for a few minutes and I put that on my social media pages. Interact with me over there. Awesome show today.
Good show.
Awesome show today.
Good show.
$264 in super chats. Last call for supers. Can we get to 300? We are 36 away. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to get us there.
I can see something inside myself. I really don't think I'm super enough.
Oh.
Dude, ultimate song. I don't know about you. Whenever I was growing up, something that I don't see as much anymore, but was super popular whenever I was a kid, was going to the skating rink.
Oh, yeah.
That song was on
ice skates or roller skates?
Roller skates.
Okay, yeah. We had, I'm from the Northeast, so we had ice skating, but you had roller rinks too.
Ice skating, did they always like have songs playing?
Oh, all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
That was the vibe. Yeah.
Early 2000s, roller rink, do you believe in love after love?
That reminds me of the, what was it? The, dun, 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 dun,
oh, Night at the Roxbury.
Night at the Roxbury. Such a great song. And a good movie. A funny movie. Alicia in the chat. Next year is our year. I love it. Level of confidence the Niners can make it to the Super Bowl. 1 to 100. I'm seeing a lot of 100s. I mean, I like it.
You're in the better conference for it. The AFC, in my opinion, more top-heavy.
Better quarterback play. Yeah,
I mean,
top to bottom.
49ers still have the – I mean, obviously a lot can change this offseason with free agency and the draft, but I still think the 49ers by far have the best roster in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree. Really what it comes down to for me, and we're 90 seconds in, if you want to extend the show – send in a super chat. Can we get to 300?
Can we do it?
Can we get to 300? We did 400 on Tuesday. What it comes down to me, it's really hard to make all these deep runs and then have the mental and physical wherewithal to last and make another deep run, especially when you suffer a heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl. Look what happened to the Eagles this past year.
Well, I was going to say, people in this chat can appreciate, because I'm guessing a lot of Niners fans probably – a good crossover Golden State Warrior fans.
Yeah.
They absolutely took the whole life out of the Houston Rockets, one of the best teams the Rockets have ever had. That's including the teams that won the championships back-to-back in the 90s.
Snatched their souls.
The Rockets with CP3, James Harden, consistently had some of the best teams in the National Basketball Association, but the Warriors just snatched their soul after just continually beating them in the Western Conference Finals. And John Edwards getting us a little bit closer.
John Edwards getting us closer.
But yeah,
16 away.
Getting to the mountaintop and not reaching there multiple times is extremely disheartening.
No doubt. And John Edwards, by the way, he's been an OG for the last couple of months. That's his 20th super chat in the history of the 49ers report. So everybody type John. Everybody type John. We're one $20 super chat away from getting past 300.
We can do it. I believe in the chat. I believe in the community that you fostered.
Donald Johnson typing John.
Marilyn Shandley. Greg Smith. Nick Dolfer, my guy.
Lord Buddy Bear. Anna Carala typing John. Kevin Knight. John. We're almost there.
John.
And then we'll sign off.
There we go. Bang!
Newbie killed you. How about them Niners? That's 25 right there. A chug for the gang.
He said, do you think Patrick Willis should be on the 49ers defensive staff? I think we've seen a lot, especially with D'Amico Ryan, some other guys, Mike Vrabel, linebackers transfer very well from being on the field to being a coach.
Yeah.
Because they're
got to be cerebral.
They're the coach of the defense almost.
Yep, exactly right. On that green dot, you're hearing the play calls. You know the why behind the play calls, and then you become a defensive coordinator. So, interesting choice. I mean, Nick Sorensen just brought on KJ Wright, Seahawks legend.
Yeah.
So
as the linebacker coach, right?
Assistant linebackers coach. He's going to help on that side of the ball. So, yeah, D'Amico. We saw it. KJ Wright.
What is Patrick Willis doing right now?
Getting ready for the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, but like
I think he's just chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a career like him, made that money, I'd be chilling as well.
Hell yeah. How about them Niners? Follow up on Ashton Davis. Super fast, still young. 4.28, 4.39 40 time in 21 games as a starter. 6 picks, 3 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries. Great on special teams as well.
I think we're good. We're about to sign off.
Yeah, we're about to sign off. Sammy boy.
Sam.
Let me look at his Pro Football Focus numbers.
I remember Ashton Davis out of Cal. He's safety out of Cal.
Yep.
He's a good, third.
Went to Santa Cruz High School.
Good third safety. I don't think Ashton Davis is your guy who you want lacing up and being your starting, like your number one safety, number two safety. But as a rotational guy, the amount of nickel that these teams play, I wouldn't mind signing Ashton Davis as a low-key free agent. Also could help you in some special teams. Yeah. Obviously with that speed, even though 4.28 to 4.39, pretty big, doesn't seem like it, pretty big span for a 40-yard dash for times.
I'm looking at his PFF grades. So he played 110 coverage snaps. He was a former third-round pick. Overall grade is 74.7. Pass rush grade 76.4. He can play in the box a little bit. A coverage grade of 77.9. But again, the sample size is so limited. Low. Yeah.
And like I said, unless he proves otherwise, maybe for an injury or something gets more playing time, I think he's a good backup option, a good rotation
special teams player. Because he played in 17 games this year. So if he's playing that few snaps in 17 games, kind of shows you what Robert Saleh thought of him. Yeah. All right, we're about to sign off. We will catch you on Monday, live, right here Monday morning on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Free agency getting underway. It's one of my favorite times of the year because you start to see how this football team is going to get molded, how it's going to be put together, and it's just an exciting time.
Prediction, Monday morning. You don't have to say the team. What player do you think signs first Monday morning?
Wow. I think Chris Jones back to the Chiefs.
Chris Jones back to the Chiefs?
Chris Jones back to the Chiefs, yep. How about you? You got anything?
Sneaky name, low-key name. Give me Connor Williams back to the Cowboys.
Okay, back to the Cowboys.
They're losing Tyler Biadasz. They need a center. Played well.
Tyron Smith probably out on the offensive line.
Yeah. Just a guess. Probably not going to happen. But.
We the people audit. Danielle Hunter to the Niners. If that happens, we'll be talking about it live here on the show. For Chugs, I'm Chase. Thanks to everybody out there for making this an awesome show. We'll catch you next time. San Francisco, we out.